Nobody expected the first thing to stop a rebuilt Bugatti Chiron would be a cardboard box. After months of chaos, arguments over parts and fabrication work most shops wouldn't even attempt, Matt Armstrong finally reached the moment everyone had been waiting for. The Chiron moved under its own power again. Matt sat behind the wheel of a car that had once been snapped in half, and the first thing he said was, "This is scary." But what nearly ruined that moment again was something so stupid it almost sounds fake. The car was basically ready, interior installed, engine alive, cooling system nearly finished. Everything pointed toward the first drive finally happening. Then during a pressure test, the nightmare restarted. Not because of Bugatti, not because of electronics, because the custom radiator Bob had hand-built from raw metal got destroyed before it even touched the car. And the worst part? The damage happened after all the hard work was already done. Bugatti refused to supply the original component, so Bob built one himself from scratch. Not modified, not adapted, completely fabricated by hand. Hours of machining, welding, and test fitting went into it. Somehow it survived all of that, only to get taken out during shipping. One corner of the radiator pipe stuck through the packaging. The box got dropped in transit, and that single hit crushed the seal. Weeks of work gone because somebody mishandled a parcel. But what happened next made the situation even worse. Most people would have quit there. Bob didn't. He cut apart every custom section he'd already built, sourced another radiator core, and started rebuilding the entire thing again from zero. Then came the kind of problem that only exists on hypercars. The new core was just 1 millimeter wider than the old one. 1 millimeter, almost invisible to the eye. But inside a Bugatti Chiron, that tiny difference turned into a complete alignment disaster. Suddenly, brackets didn't fit. Mounts shifted out of place. Everything had to be reworked again, and they still weren't finished. After repositioning fittings and re-welding sections, the radiators finally went back in. Then they noticed moisture forming around the welds. Tiny pinhole leaks. Barely visible, but enough to ruin everything. All 39 liters of coolant had to come back out. The radiators had to be removed again. And this is where Matt decided to try something that probably terrified everyone watching. Matt thought he could weld it himself. He'd watched Bob Tig weld enough times to think he understood it. In theory, it looked manageable. In reality, it became obvious almost immediately that watching welding videos and welding a multi-million-pound Bugatti are two completely different things. Within minutes, the experiment was over. Bob had to come back and rescue the situation before Matt accidentally turned the Chiron into modern art. But while all this chaos was happening, another discovery quietly changed the entire story of the rebuild. As Matt kept tracing parts through the car, the illusion of exclusive Bugatti engineering started falling apart, piece by piece. The damaged fuse box? Lamborghini Gallardo. Direct fit. The missing secondary air pump? Volkswagen. Same connectors, same mounting points. The crash sensors? Porsche components. And then came the discovery that really made people question everything. A multi-million-pound Bugatti Chiron was sitting there with Porsche crash sensors, Volkswagen components, Audi-derived airbags, and Lamborghini electrical hardware hidden underneath the bodywork. For months, Bugatti had pushed the idea that these cars required rare manufacturer-controlled components and exclusive repair channels. But this rebuild exposed something very different. Underneath the carbon fiber and prestige, the Chiron shares far more with the Volkswagen Group than most people ever imagined. And the deeper Matt got into the rebuild, the more impossible it became to ignore. Because in the end, the most impressive thing Bob built during this entire project wasn't actually either Radiator. It was something else entirely. And it completely changed what people thought was possible with this car. The most important part of the entire rebuild wasn't the engine. It wasn't the gearbox. It wasn't even the carbon fiber bodywork. It was a single piece of aluminum hidden behind the front bumper. And without it, the Bugatti Chiron would never drive again. The front crash bar had been completely annihilated in the crash, not slightly bent, not repairable, destroyed beyond recognition. And what made this part terrifying wasn't just what it did, it was what depended on it. The crash bar controls almost the entire geometry of the Chiron's front end. The bumper mounts to it, the splitter mounts to it, the iconic horseshoe grille mounts to it. Even the crash sensors, bonnet latch, horn, and alarm system rely on its exact positioning. If the alignment is even slightly wrong, the entire front end sits crooked. The bonnet won't close properly, sensors stop functioning correctly. Nothing lines up. And the biggest problem? Nobody knew the exact dimensions anymore. Matt tried to solve that problem the obvious way. He contacted Chiron owners hoping someone would allow a full 3D scan of their car so they could recreate the crash bar accurately. Every single owner refused. Nobody wanted their pristine, multi-million-pound hypercar disassembled for reference measurements. Without factory drawings, without CAD files, and without Bugatti support, most people accepted the reality immediately. The part was impossible to recreate. But Bob didn't see it that way. What Bob had in front of him barely looked like a crash bar anymore. Twisted metal, crushed mounting points, mangled aluminum compressed from the impact. Yet somehow he treated that wreckage like a blueprint. For over 60 hours, he cut, shaped, heated, welded, filed, and rebuilt the entire structure completely by hand using the same grade aluminum Bugatti uses themselves. No factory data, no measurements, no templates, just experience and instinct. And what happened during the test fit shocked everyone. When Matt brought the finished crash bar to the chassis and started lining up the bolts, something unbelievable happened. Every single hole aligned perfectly on the first try. No forcing, no modifications, no adjustments. The entire structure fitted exactly where it needed to be, like it had come directly from the Bugatti factory. That wasn't ordinary fabrication anymore. That was craftsmanship on a level most manufacturers would struggle to replicate, even with full engineering data. But even after that miracle, the rebuild still had one final test left. For the first time since the crash, they could finally fill the cooling system completely. And this is where you realize how insane the Chiron actually is. Most performance cars use around 8 to 12 liters of coolant. The Chiron needs 39 liters just to control the temperature of its quad-turbo W16 engine. That's nearly 4 times more than most supercars. And if Bob's handmade radiators failed here, everything was over instantly. Using a vacuum filling system, they pulled negative pressure through the entire cooling circuit before feeding coolant into the car. Bucket after bucket disappeared into the system while Bob watched remotely from Ireland at nearly 7 in the morning. Then came the moment nobody could fake anymore. The engine started. The temperature began climbing. 48 degrees, 60, 80, then finally 90 degrees, where the cooling fans were supposed to activate. If the temperatures kept climbing after that, the rebuild was dead. The fans kicked in. The temperature rose slightly higher, then stabilized. No leaks, no overheating, no pressure loss. Bob's completely handmade radiators, built around Honda Civic cores, were successfully cooling one of the most complicated engines ever installed in a road car. Everything Bugatti claimed required factory-only systems and proprietary solutions had just been disproven inside an independent workshop by a fabricator working without official support. And that's when Matt finally decided it was time. The Chiron still had no windscreen. The front end wasn't fully assembled. Visually, the car looked unfinished. Mechanically, though, it was alive. Matt climbed into a Bugatti Chiron for the very first time in his life, and it happened to be the exact same Chiron he'd watched get cut completely in half months earlier. That reality hit him immediately the moment the car started moving.